No one remembered who said it first, only that the phrase drifted through the galactic networks like an old superstition. When humans get angry, run. Most species laughed it off as primitive myth, a dramatic exaggeration born from early human conflicts. Humans were loud, emotional, expressive. But compared to ancient war species, they seemed inefficient and chaotic. They argued among themselves, debated everything, questioned authority, and yet still claimed to value peace. To the Galactic Council, this contradiction made humans harmless. They were allowed trade routes, minor colonies, observer status in defense assemblies, and nothing more. No one noticed that every treaty humans signed came with evacuation clauses. No one studied why. Their civilian ships carried armor thicker than some patrol cruisers. And no one asked why human history archives were sealed behind warnings instead of summaries. The warning resurfaced when the Rao Dominion pushed into the outer human systems. The Rao were methodical conquerors, cold and precise, believing emotion was weakness. They seized 3 human mining worlds in a single cycle. Human diplomats protested, filed objections, requested arbitration, and complied with every protocol. The council praised their restraint and urged patience. The Rao interpreted this as surrender. On the 4th worlds, the Rail bombarded a human evacuation convoy. They claimed it was a navigational error. Millions died in silence between the stars. The human response was brief. A single transmission sent on all frequencies. This is your final warning. The council sighed in relief when no immediate retaliation followed. They assumed the humans had accepted loss as the cost of coexistence. What they did not understand was that humans did not erupt instantly. They compressed, focused, and went very still across human space. Factories shifted production without announcement. Civilian networks went dark. Artists stopped posting. Sports leagues suspended play. Children were quietly relocated. And deep within shipyards that had not been used in generations, ancient hulls were awakened. The warning echoed again, this time whispered by smugglers and fringe scouts. When humans get angry, run. Asterisks, the first sign something was wrong was the absence of noise. Human space had always been chaotic, filled with chatter, advertisements, music, and arguments broadcast across the stars. Now it was empty. Rao scouts reported entire systems powered down. Stars burning over silent planets. No distress calls. No traffic. No life signs beyond minimal readings. The Royal Command interpreted this as collapse. They advanced deeper, confident and precise. Their fleets moved in perfect formations, weapons charged, sensors active. Then their long-range scanners began detecting mass shadows. Not ships, not stations, but something larger. Human vessels emerged without ceremony. They did not broadcast identification codes. They did not issue demands. They simply appeared. These were not the sleek designs the galaxy associated with humans. These ships were brutal slabs of metal, scarred, asymmetrical, and layered with redundant armor. Many bore visible repairs from wars that predated interstellar travel. The Rao opened fire. According to doctrine, human ships absorbed the volleys and continued advancing. Then they returned fire. There was no elegance, no warning shots. Kinetic weapons struck with obscene force, tearing through shields as if they were suggestions. Electronic warfare followed, drowning Rael systems in false data and impossible readings. Rael commanders demanded explanations. Human channels finally opened. A calm voice spoke. You were told to leave. The human fleets did not pursue fleeing vessels immediately. They allowed the message to spread. Every surviving Rael ship carried the same report. Human weapons ignored surrender beacons. Human tactics adapted in real time. Human ships fought like predators that had decided prey no longer deserved mercy. The council attempted to intervene. Human representatives did not respond. The silence was intentional. Anger, humanity had learned, was most effective when controlled. Asterisks as the conflict expanded. Observers struggled to describe human behavior. They did not celebrate victories. They did not announce kill counts. They advanced with methodical inevitability. Human ground forces landed on occupied worlds not to reclaim territory, but to erase Rao presence entirely. They dismantled supply lines, poisoned logistics networks, and collapsed command hierarchies within hours. Captured Rao soldiers were treated according to strict codes, fed, stabilized, and interrogated, then released with records of what they had seen. Human anger was not blind. It was instructional. They targeted shipyards first, then data centers, then cultural archives. Not to destroy history, but to force memory. Every surviving role leader received identical data packages, footage of ruined human colonies, medical scans of civilian casualties, time-stamped recordings of evacuation ships being destroyed. Alongside those files was a simple statement: "This is why." The galaxy began to understand the pattern too late. Humans escalated only after exhausting every alternative. But once escalation began, they did not stop until the threat was incapable of repeating the offense. Ray allies withdrew preemptively. Neutral systems, closed borders, even ancient war. Species chose silence over involvement. Human fleets moved like weather fronts. Slow, unstoppable, reshaping everything they touched. When a council delegation finally intercepted a human admiral, they asked a single question: what will it take to end this? The admiral answered without hesitation: for them to never have the ability to do this again. There was no hatred in the voice, only certainty. The warning spread faster now, carried by refugees and analysts alike. Human anger was not rage. It was resolve sharpened into a weapon. Entire sectors fell without prolonged engagement. Human fleets bypassed strongholds and dismantled infrastructure instead. Power grids collapsed. Fleets were stranded. Economies imploded overnight. Raoul Command attempted one final counteroffensive. They gathered every remaining capital ship into a single decisive formation. Human sensors detected it days in advance. They did not rush to meet it. They waited. When the fleets finally clashed, the engagement lasted minutes. Human ships closed distance aggressively, accepting damage to ensure impact. Boarding actions followed, brutal and efficient. Human soldiers moved with practiced coordination, protecting each other with instinctive trust. Rail resistance crumbled under relentless pressure after the battle. Human medics treated enemy wounded alongside their own. This act confused the galaxy more than the destruction. Observers asked why humans showed mercy now. The answer came from a human historian speaking publicly for the first time: anger ends when the lesson is learned, not when everyone is dead. The Royal Dominion formally surrendered. They accepted demilitarization, oversight, and permanent restrictions. Human forces withdrew as quickly as they had arrived. Rebuilding teams followed, offering aid under strict conditions. The Council finally acknowledged what it had ignored. Human restraint was not weakness, it was discipline. The warning was updated in official archives: when humans get angry, run. If you cannot run, surrender. If you cannot surrender, remember why it happened. Years later, the galaxy stabilized into a cautious peace. Human space returned to noise, art, debate, and disagreement. To outsiders, it looked as though nothing had changed. But beneath the surface, every major power had adjusted its doctrine. No one tested human evacuation clauses anymore. No one dismissed emotional species as irrational. Human historians unsealed parts of their archives for the first time. They showed a pattern older than spaceflight. Humans endured, warned, negotiated, and adapted. But when pushed past the line, they unified with terrifying clarity. Children across the galaxy learned the phrase in school, not as a threat, but as a lesson. Anger was not loud. It was focused. It was built patiently and released with purpose. A human ambassador summarized it best during a council address: "We do not seek to be feared. We seek to be left alone." The chamber was silent after that. No one needed further explanation, because the galaxy remembered the silence that came before the war, and it understood now that silence was the most dangerous sound of all.